we're gonna cover what happened on NXT and how the card for Showdown got built. So the show kicks off with your new NXT champion Ricky Saints making his way down to the ring. He thanks all the fans who chant "you deserve it," and really he does. I was a bit butthurt about it at No Mercy, but honestly I'm down for this. I'm so down for Ricky Saints being champion. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. Honestly, some of the stuff that happened tonight really brought me into that. We're gonna get to that over the course of the show, but he gives a little speech before he is interrupted by Jacy Jayne, the TNA NXT Women's Champion. I really like seeing the men and women of NXT interact, like not necessarily matches, just promos, because like Jacy Jayne and Ricky Saints is not a pairing you would expect to ever cut a promo, but it was pretty cool seeing it. So Jacy Jayne goes on to say nobody likes talking about themselves more than she does, but that's when Ava comes out. Ava announces that the two of them will be the captains for the team heading into Showdown, and that's when Santino comes out. He looks very emotional as the fans cheer his name. That was sweet of him, before saying that he doesn't trust Trick Williams to be his team captain, so he announces Santana to be the team captain. There's a lot of implications for that, we're gonna get to that soon. And then he says while he doesn't trust Trick Williams, he does trust Kelani Jordan to be the team captain for the women's team. And all throughout the night we're gonna see them build their teams. That was some of the most entertaining stuff of the night. But what I'm really curious about is that they didn't have 5-on-5 matches. It's 4-on-4 matches, which is still cool. I really would have just liked the traditional 5-on-5 matches, but 4-on-4 is cool. I think it was mainly because if we did do 5-on-5 matches, TNA star power would really be shown to be very lacking. I mean, NXT would dog walk them, but that's a story for another day. We go backstage where Javon Evans runs into the X Division champion Leon Slater, and they talk about their upcoming match for the X Division championship at Bound for Glory, which I really hope it's for the it's an Ultimate X match. Man, that would be such a dope ass fucking match. So here's hoping. But they kind of bond, talking about how this is the youngest dream match ever, which fair, it may be. But then Shawn Spears and the Culling walk up to them. Shawn Spears berates Javon Evans, saying Javon Evans should really be careful because he should not be crossing lines with the enemy, and Javon Evans and Leon Slater just challenge them to a tag team match, which they both leave to go set up. Then we turn the camera and Lyra Valkyria is here, yes, and she says she's been trying to be nicer to her friends, and she has got something for Tatum Paxley. She was up all night making it, and she gives Tatum a doll of herself, and Tatum is so excited she throws the doll of Izzy Dame away and takes Lyra Valkyria's doll. And again, this also has major implications for the match here tonight. Man, I love this. I love how Lyra Valkyria has been progressively more on NXT. It's just so dope. I don't think she's getting demoted. I don't think she's gonna be here permanently, but just her and Tatum Paxley, it's some of the best stuff WWE has, in my honest opinion. Next, we have Jada Parker versus Lash Legend in a surprisingly long match. Everybody always says that Jada Parker is just good on the mic. She's still very behind on the ring. Honestly, I don't see that. She seems pretty solid in the ring to me. I want her to be the next NXT Women's Champion. Now, I've said I think it's probably Jordynne Grace, but damn, I want Jada Parker to be the next NXT Women's Champion. Besides Lola Vice, who I want it to be. Okay, never mind. There's a lot of women on NXT who I want to be the next champion. The division is stacked. Jada Parker does pick up the victory though in a really competitive matchup. I think this is probably where their feud ends. I mean, it was a pretty okay feud. I'm just happy we get mid-card women's feud. The feud might have been lacking in heat a bit, but overall it was entertaining and this payoff match was really good, so I'm satisfied with what I got. Ricky Saints is backstage and he's being given congratulations by the NXT roster, and that's when Trick Williams approaches him, and Trick Williams wants to be the team captain of Team NXT, and Ricky Saints is not down for it. Ricky says if Trick wants a spot on Team NXT, he's got to work with the rest of the team, before saying that his first pick is Javon Evans and his second pick besides Trick would be Myles Borne. Trick doesn't agree. Trick wants Josh Briggs on the team, so the two make a compromise and set up a match between Josh Briggs and Myles Borne. The winner will be the final member of Team NXT, which is like, damn, okay, there are so many better people you could have chosen on this team. First, Obafemi, but I get why you had to make this match. I mean, someone needs to take the pin for Team NXT. Someone needs to get kicked out first. And, you know, it's not going to be Ricky Saints. It's not going to be Trick Williams. Javon Evans is probably going to be taken out on some crazy batshit insane way. So I get why you have to have, like, Josh Briggs or Myles Borne take the pin. Myles Borne wins that match, by the way. We're going to get to that soon because something happens there. Just saying. Ethan Page talks about how he's done it again. He's once again defended the Canadian Championship, North American Championship, whatever the hell you want to call it. And he's very proud of himself, and he just wants to get done with Elijah the Dr. Wagner Jr. But that's when Mustafa Ali comes down to the ring, which was a really nice detail. I actually really like this because this was before I covered NXT. It was like a few months before I started covering NXT. Mustafa Ali won a match to challenge for the North American Championship. He had this whole thing of make the North American Championship great again, but then he got released from WWE. So I feel like this is a really nice way to tie up the loose ends. You really didn't need to do that. I don't think people even care anymore, but it's a really nice thing, and it just enhances Ethan Page's title reign, where he defends the championship against all people from all different backgrounds. He defended it against Canadians, he's going to defend it against a Mexican, he's defended it against Americans. Mustafa Ali is just another person on that long list of international people with very diverse backgrounds that he defends the championship against. They cut a little promo, go back and forth, where Mustafa Ali explains all of this and says he's politicked himself into a championship match next week for the North American Championship. And I have a theory, not a theory, I just have an opinion, that's what you call it. I have an opinion. Ethan Page's championship reign is slowly creeping up to the same level that Obafemi's was. Obafemi's reign was fucking amazing. His North American Championship reign was perfect. And I feel like Ethan Page's reign, this specific reign, it's creeping up there. It's really starting to get good, and I've really enjoyed it. Maybe not all of the matches, but him as champion and his stories been insanely interesting. Fatal Influence then walks into the women's locker room, and Jayne tells everybody to listen up, and she needs to build a strong team. And she first off looks at Ruca, who's a double champ, and recruits her. Ruca is so down. Then she points out how impressive Jada Parker was tonight, and says Jada Parker will also be in that team. And then a few people want the last spot. First off, it is Fallon Henley who thinks she deserves it. Lola Vice also comes up and tells Jayne that she took Jayne to the limit and she wants to represent NXT. That sets up a match for later tonight where Lola Vice and Fallon Henley go one-on-one. The winner will be on Team NXT. So let's get into those two matches. First off, Josh Briggs versus Myles Borne is won by Myles Borne in a pretty impressive match. Josh Briggs wears this chain around his neck, and near the end of the match, when he gets frustrated, he tries taking the chain off to attack Myles Borne, but Matt Cardona from TNA jumps the ring. He grabs the chain away from Josh Briggs and then runs away. This allows Myles Borne to pick up the victory. I was always under the assumption Myles Borne was going to win this match, but I'm surprised by what happened because Matt Cardona isn't on Team TNA. Since the invasion and Showdown, can't call it invasion anymore, Showdown is happening on NXT, they want a few extra matches to happen on TNA just to build off of that momentum. So maybe Josh Briggs versus Matt Cardona is going to be a Showdown match, TNA edition. But honestly, it's kind of a lame match, if I'm being honest with you. It's not a match that I say like, yeah, I want to see that. And then Lola Vice defeats Fallon Henley. Also a really solid match. I was also under the assumption that Lola Vice was gonna win. Damn, NXT's women's division is so stacked. Team NXT for the women, man. Jayne has been a great champion. Ruca, insane. Lola Vice, insane. Jada Parker, got insane. And when we get to Team TNA later, which was Kelani Jordan, which is insane. Sade, which is like cool, yeah, but she's not on the level of any of the NXT women, although I like her a lot. And then the Inspiration is like, yeah, there's a clear disconnect. And NXT didn't even take out the big guns. Like, there's no Blake Monroe. Zarya isn't there. You didn't have Tatum Paxley. There's a lot of women not on Team NXT that really could have been. The reason they made it a 4-on-4 match is because there was probably nobody on Team TNA that could stand up to Team NXT. And that's not a diss to TNA. I love TNA, but like, let's be real for ourselves. They don't have the roster to match NXT's. We have another backstage segment where Jordynne Grace tells Kelani Jordan that she needs to hold the Knockouts Championship with pride, but Kelani says she doesn't really feel like recruiting Jordynne Grace because she doesn't know where Jordynne Grace stands. She says she doesn't know where Jordynne Grace stands, she doesn't know where Joe Henry stands, which causes Joe Henry to walk out. Santana then comes up, and Santana is surprisingly nice to Kelani Jordan, and he tells her to come on. He wants to introduce her to the rest of the TNA wrestlers. So it really seems like Kelani Jordan is fully buying into TNA, which is exactly what I wanted. And then Joe Henry and Jordynne Grace are standing there saying they need to get involved somehow. So either they're gonna be obviously they're going to be involved somehow. I feel like them being the two biggest TNA stars to cross over to NXT, they got to be involved in next week's show somehow. Or they're just going to have a few matches on the TNA version of Showdown, which would be lame. But like, let's wait and see. I'm not exactly sure where this is going. I'm hyped though. Backstage, Jacy, Jayne and Fallon Henley are kind of bickering when Lainey Reed comes up. And Lainey Reed tells them that she was the one that both attacked Jasmine Inks last week and helped Jayne retain the championship. So all my predictions came true. She's probably still injured, meaning like we're probably not going to get this story exactly how it was supposed to play out, but the fact that we're still doing it, really excited to see where this goes. I'm just sad Jasmine Inks is gone, man. I was really liking her. Then we head to the main event, which is Javon Evans and Leon Slater going up against the Culling, Sean Spears and Nico Vance. And it was an okay match, but man, Javon Evans and Leon Slater as a tag team is such a banger. They obviously end up winning, but then as the end of the match gets on, we head backstage. We're in the parking lot. The whole TNA roster and the whole NXT roster are really getting into each other's faces, and that even leads to Javon Evans and Leon Slater alone in the ring, really starting to get a bit bickery, but the security pulls them apart, and that heads into the main event of the whole show, where all the TNA wrestlers come out, all the NXT wrestlers come out, and they announce their teams. Obviously, Ricky Saints, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Myles Borne is the team for NXT, which is a pretty good team. I understand why, because if you replace Myles Borne with Obafemi, it's completely unfair. And then TNA's team is Santana, Leon Slater, Frankie, Kazarian, and Moose. I understand everyone there besides Frankie Kazarian. I mean, he's okay, but I mean, you have Steve Macklin right there who could be in that team. There's a few other people, like, honestly, I can't think of anyone right now. I think just adding Joe Henry there instead would have been a lot more entertaining, since he's technically still part of TNA. It would have caused a lot of drama. Overall, I don't feel like TNA's team compares whatsoever to NXT's. And then I already addressed the NXT and TNA women's sections. Again, NXT's women's team, they better dog walk TNA's, because it's just unfair. But nothing lasts long. It starts with a whole lot of bickering, and then they start brawling again. The crowd goes insane. It's a whole mess, but it looks really cool. Even Shawn Michaels comes out to just look at this. Man, next week, I'm so fucking hyped for next week. It's gonna be an insanely great show. But purely for tonight, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. I loved all the team building stuff all throughout the night. Trick Williams and Ricky Saints being co-captains. All of the distrust going on was really good. I loved it. I'm just kind of disappointed that it's not 5-on-5 matches. I really would have liked to see that, but then again, I understand, you know, you have kind of a bigger roster for NXT with a lot more star power, so it kind of makes TNA on the back foot already, so you don't want to lean into that completely. But I have a feeling TNA is somehow gonna pick up the victory miraculously. I don't know how, but I feel like somehow it might happen. Not that I want to. I mean, no disrespect to TNA again, but you know, it really should be NXT winning. But that's my review for tonight's show. I really hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like, subscribe if you enjoyed it. I cover TNA and NXT every single week, including Evolve. And Thursday nights, I do a podcast with PUWF where we just sit and talk about Evolve for about 2 hours. You should really join if you like that kind of stuff. I have both a basketball channel and a superhero channel where I cover DC and all that stuff, and then basketball where I just cover basketball. So you should really check those two channels out if that interests you. So leave a like, subscribe. I hope to see you again soon. Goodbye, everyone.